I will set the zeitgeist straight.
The movie has too much of the cast in it.
Man, I'm saddled with Jeff Goldblum, the world's most uncharismatic actor.
But it has no poetry.
That's not what this is about.
The problem was when the hero started facing adversity.
Get off your soapbox, Laura Dern.
I want to square off on this guy at a dinner party.
The music was thick.
So far, you have not dazzled me. I'm just letting you know. Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Mark, good chat on bad takes of great movies. I'm Dave Columbo.
I'm Mick Andrews.
I picked a great time to take a drink. We both
As we all take a sip from our respective cups.
Let's just sit and let that moment sizzle for a second of us telling everybody our names. So what we do on this here podcast is you get to watch us and listen to us wince through the worst reviews of the greatest movies ever made. Now, we've had a couple of great episodes so far. Have you? Do you still enjoy Jurassic Park and Ghostbusters even after the reviews we read?
Yeah, despite their best efforts, I don't think anyone has yet persuaded me that those two movies aren't like worth watching.
I love this idea, and so far we've had a lot of good feedback on this idea as a podcast. But the problem is there are times where listening to somebody be so wrong about a fabulous movie, it doesn't like immediately provoke a very like detailed discussion. It just provokes like there's a couple of times where we're just like,
Yeah.
and we need a second, which is not good for a podcast. But sometimes all you can do is just go, what? Like, I can't even
take in on the fly.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There's a certain part of it too that's like emotionally draining for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can only hear someone be so wrong for so long before you're just kind of like, okay.
Oh yeah, you just want to shut off.
Like wow, what like?
You know where I think that comes from? I think that comes from the fact that, you know, in the first episode we were talking about how everything is the YouTube generation now. All film criticism is on YouTube now. And so if I think someone's wrong, I can immediately shut off, switch to another video, go check something else out. I'll just leave immediately. So I have that mentality coming into a mindset where I have to read 10 paragraphs of somebody who is so wrong about Ghostbusters. Like I can't just stop. I have to like keep going. And I'm like, I would have stopped a while ago.
Yeah, there were a few reviews where I made it to a certain point where I had to I stopped reading and scrolled to see how much more I had left, where I'm like, this guy really went on for another 2 pages. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, all right. Yeah, it's amazing. Today's episode will be about a movie that I do think that we're going to be doing a lot of great movies on this podcast, a lot of movies that I think are going to be in everybody's top 5 or top 10 that everybody agrees is a classic. But I would probably put this movie up there as maybe on top in terms of the one that the most people will at least agree is like, it's on whose top 10 is it not on? Jaws, 1975, a little guy called Stevie Spielberg. You know, I'm always amazed by Jaws because they said that it was like the birth of the blockbuster, which I never really understood because it's such a, by modern blockbuster standards, it's such a slow character piece.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have Optimus Prime shoving a giant sword through Megatron at all. Like, what do you mean by blockbuster? Like, was the paradigm really so different back then?
Yeah, it's strange now thinking about it and like analyzing it from like a critical movie standpoint, from like the writing and the cinema of it, that like people just watched it from a like kind of popcorn chewing standpoint of like, look at the shark. Where's the shark? Is the shark going to be there? But there's layers to it, and I think that's what really kind of helps it stand the test, which is like there's a real like old man in the sea story here. There's a story of 3 men trying to overcome, you know, nature and stuff. That's like super interesting. But at the same time, it manages to hit the mark of like, people are going to line up around the block in the middle of summer in order to, you know, get scared by a shark. So
You say there's layers
fantastic
to it, but I have a couple of people here who I think would disagree with you. I
I'm
mean,
so excited for this one. I got to tell you.
dude, like, I know this is supposed to be a comedy podcast, but if we need to stop and scream at any point, like, let me know because, oh my goodness. I mean, I'm assuming one of your favorite movies as well.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
I feel
I
like
loved
it's
it.
if you meet somebody else who is into anything cool that we would call cool, any like, you know, film culture, video games, comic books, anything, if you meet somebody who's like kind of got that edge, I kind of feel like you don't even need to go like, do you like the movie Jaws? Like I feel like it's part of the package.
As a given that it's considered a great movie. I've never heard of, I mean, okay. I was going to say I've never heard of someone who's like anti-Jaws.
Mhm.
There are people who get scared by the movie and therefore don't like it. I think there's a difference between being afraid of sharks or being afraid of the movie from a horror standpoint and saying it's not a good movie. In fact, I think if you're scared by the movie, considering how awful the animatronics are, it proves it's a good movie. Like it is an effective movie at building suspense and creating tension when they really didn't have a lot to work with. Um, for me, it was one of the first movies I saw where I saw it as very young as a kid, and it truly did scare the crap out of me. And I watched it again and again and again. But for a while, afraid of the ocean, all the stuff everybody talks about with Jaws, that was 100% me. But to me, it's kind of like, I don't know if this comparison is going to be something that, causes comments or gets us some feedback. But to me, it's like the Beatles in the sense of like, for a lot of people, it was their first foray into rock and roll. And as they branch out, they have different interests where it's like, it may not be my favorite movie, but it was my first favorite movie. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. So Jaws to me is like that. Like that it was one of the first movies where I was like, movies can like move you and scare you and like but also like make you think about like a lot of there's subtext and stuff. It was the first movie to me that felt like it had a lot of layers and stuff. Like I just loved this movie.
And very much like the Beatles, for me, it's a movie that I will have like I won't watch for about a decade and then come back and go like, was it really as good as I remember? And then immediately be pulled back in. You know, like when you don't listen to the Beatles for a while, you're kind of like, okay. And then you hear a Beatles song and you're like, oh yeah. Oh no,
yeah. They're the greatest.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. You were scared of the ocean. I remember very clearly being scared of the pool. My dad, the first time I watched Jaws, my dad immediately then was like, "We're gonna go down to the pool," and I said, "I'm okay. I'm not gonna go down there." And he was like, "No, it's a pool, Dave." And I'm like, "That's it's still water. It's a pool near the ocean. I'm not fucking with that." I remember very clearly being afraid that like somehow the shark will have, I don't know, been like airdropped into the pool and will just be swimming around waiting for me. Like that's how terrified I was. But I do think that like I'm very irritated by the people who would like pigeon, like I don't even think about Jaws in terms of the scariness. So much of the movie is like a character piece and is the building suspense. And yes, it has those big jump out moments, but it's not, I mean, especially by modern standards, the idea of somebody saying like, like, I don't like it because it was scary, or I don't like scary movies. It's like Jaws is so much more. It reminds me of when I watched, the first time I watched Vertigo with with a girlfriend at the time, and she was on her phone for the whole movie. And then at the end, she goes like, I didn't find it very like scary or suspenseful. And I'm like, you weren't watching it, like,
you missed all of that.
You were not watching it for what it was. You were waiting for the big jump out moments. And I feel like, oh man, okay. Like when I have kids, there's going to be a couple of things that are very important to me. Hide the fact that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad, and hide the why don't you come chum some of this shit shark reveal in Jaws. Hide that so that that can be an organic, real experience. Pretty much everything else in film, I'm okay with, like, oh, you're spoiled. You saw you saw a YouTube clip. You know what you're seeing going in. I'm okay. But I'd love for those two reveals in movies to be kept nice and safe from them so they can enjoy them.
Those are two really good ones. As you say that, I'm trying to think if there are any others that I would add to that. Like what's a seminal.
Well,
those are phenomenal, two phenomenal choices.
I'll give you one. When you definitely decide to let your young daughter watch Usual Suspects, don't give away the ending.
Yeah, that's a fair one. That's a fair one.
You know, when she's 5 and it's like time to watch Usual Suspects.
It's time for you to learn. Yeah.
Honey, we're going to be watching 7.
Oh, I would say another one might be Tyler Durden's True Identity.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But Jaws is up there as like that. Just that Roy Scheider it's one of the best. Like a 2-shot with Roy Scheider and a shark. It's fantastic.
With the acting with the cigarette too, which is not easy to do. Just like phenomenal. What do you say? It's Jaws. It's you know,
phenomenal. Yeah.
But before we start, I also forgot. Hold on one sec. I have a prop from Jaws.
Ooh.
I don't know if I ever told you the story, but I got on a kick when I was in on eBay looking for movie props, because it's like the first time you see, like, you know, a piece of the set from Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas is only $200. Just think of what you can find. And so, like, I would like Google stuff and everything, and I found someone was selling what they were saying, came with a certificate, so you know it's real. Prop blood from Jaws. Like movie prop blood, like a little vial of blood with like a little rubber stopper on it. Yeah. And I went on TikTok and I was like, is this, you know, like, oh my God, this is awesome. I want to get it. And we did like a little goofy video of me and my wife saying, like, my wife going like, dude, you know, it's, you don't need this. And I'm like, I do need it. And a great, awesome, incredible guy on social media. Props to history. He's amazing. All of his social media stuff, you should follow him. Is all about like famous props and talking about the history of props, and it really is like right up my alley. And he's the nicest guy in the world. And he very kindly and dryly, like, you know, sent me a message going like, you know, don't, it's not real. None of that crap is real. And I was like, don't break my heart. So he came over. We had a dinner with him, and he came over. This is not screen used, but this was on the set. This was one of the lights that lights up the barrel on the set of Jaws.
Oh, holy smokes.
Apparently this one was not screen used, but it actually does still light. Or it did. Well, there it goes. Hey!
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it is
that's awesome.
It was made for the screen. I don't think it was on screen, but yeah. So I have that. So he was like, you know, great. Hey, don't waste your money. I'll bring you something that was actually from Jaws. It's like, it's incredible. Like I'm over the moon.
That's very cool.
All right. So we ready to rock?
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
So let's check out some bad reviews, some negative reviews for Steven Spielberg's Jaws. It hurts my brain just to say that. The last one that I'm going to read, I think, is the worst written review I've ever read. I can't wait for you to read it. But this first one, 1975, September 13th. This is from Gay Community News, Boston.
Right.
Next, because back then, like, a lot of them were like I'm going to do 5 reviews in one. So here's like my little blurb
on each. Yeah.
Next, Jaws, Steven Spielberg's trashy, splashy epic about a shark who eats several people and is then hunted down and killed. Thanks for the plot review there. I mean,
my God.
Rivetingly obvious special effects, marginal acting by Robert Shaw. I mean, he's 2 for 2. And an Academy performance by the shark, if you like animal acts. I mean, he's firing on all cylinders. That's a question I have for you. When you were a kid,
his favorite performance was the shark?
Yeah. When you were
Everyone else was a little stiff, but that shark, man.
that shark had range.
You know, those doll's eyes. They really could. They were selling it.
Did you, when you were a kid watching Jaws, did you think that the shark was a robot? I mean, could you tell that the shark was mechanical?
No, I could not. As a kid, I did not see it. And then I went to Universal when I was around 10, and I went on the tour where they show the shark in the water, and I went, oh, now I get it. And every time thereafter, now I can see it.
I mean, I think it's beautifully
the whole movie is shot and edited in a way to hide that.
Right.
Right. Beautifully done, by the way, in a way that is beautiful. The shark only shows up when it is absolutely necessary.
And again, I know I say this every time, but compared to what? It's 1975. What movies are you watching that are better, that are showing animatronics, but also, let's not gloss over marginal acting by Robert Shaw.
I mean, those three guys, they're the whole movie. And I will say, with the sole exception, the one other person I think makes this movie like well-rounded is the mayor. I think the mayor is one of the most critical elements of this movie. Not only for like from a narrative standpoint of like keeping the beaches open so that the shark shows up again, but also to show like such a contrast to Roy Scheider's like, you know, pragmatic character.
Well, that's one of the things that I think is incredible about the characters, but also the casting, because you've got Roy Scheider, who is literally like this fish out of water, like stoic, everyman, relatable, bedrock, all-American. Like you want him to succeed in every single movie you see him in. And there he is. And you've got young Richard Dreyfuss running circles around him, doing a great job as like the young Oceanographic Institute upstart rich boy. You've got Robert Shaw being the grizzled Japanese sub slam torpedo into our side.
Yeah,
you got that.
That monologue.
And you have the trashy mayor. Like, everybody plays their parts. You're going to see, I don't want to give it away, but people say that later on that the characterizations are too simple. I think it's like, these are templates, sure, but it's a nuanced portrayal of how these templates would, there's a part when after the attack happens, when the mayor actually like snaps back at Roy Scheider and goes like those were my kids on that beach too. Like there's subtext and and nuance at play here. It's not just like, I'm the smarmy mayor who's all interested in
care.
money.
He does care.
He does. Everybody has like their own little arc. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Can I just, before you go any further, I just want to go back to the second thing where it's like, I think the sentence, correct me if I'm misquoting it, but it was just, it's a story about a shark that eats a bunch of people and then they kill it.
Yeah.
That's, did I get that right?
Yep.
That's like, I'm trying to think of, that's like saying The Deer Hunter is a movie about a couple of guys who go to Vietnam and play Russian roulette. Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah, but
Casablanca is a movie about people just trying to stay up late at a bar after it's closed. You know, like, I guess, you know, yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're just stupid. Citizen Kane's about a guy who runs a newspaper and remembers a sled. That's
whoops, writes that in the review. Whoops, sorry to give it away.
Well, no, that's what I'm also saying. They say the shark dies at the end of the movie in the review.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's the whole movie.
You get the feeling halfway through that the film is designed to make you A, throw up, B, never go swimming again, C, make Steven Spielberg very, very wealthy. So this is a thing that comes up a lot, is that people talk about the gore, which, I mean, again, I hate to be, to just repeat myself, but it's going to get a lot worse in the decades to come, guys. Like, this is still gore
buckle up.
within context And this is like in the era of the slasher movies. The 80s are coming up soon. You
This
think
is
this
as
is
bad as it gets.
You think this is excessive gore outside of the plot? Like, I want to put this person and sit them and let them watch Friday the 13th Part 9 or whatever the fuck, and just okay. So the film is designed to make you throw up, because there's nothing else besides just wanting to make you throw up. Never go swimming again. Like that's some like conspiracy theory.
The goal.
Yeah. What like big land? What would even be the conspiracy theory? And make Steven Spielberg very, very wealthy. And this is again, like, this is echoing the one that we saw with Jurassic Park, where it's like, okay, so it's gonna make a lot of money. Like, we keep hearing that in these reviews where it's like, all right, okay, I know that it's gonna be popular or whatever.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, very clever, Steven Spielberg. Make a fantastic movie everyone wants to see, so you get money. Like, you
figured it out.
You've described like a profit motive movie. Like, it's filmmaking in capitalism. That's
adapt a great story and do it really well with great actors.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Unbelievable that that's the knock on this movie, which if I remember correctly, I don't know a ton of the lore of Jaws. I'm sure you know more than I do, but this was made on a fairly shoestring budget, right? Like, this was not like, as to your point, there was no such thing as a blockbuster. There was no idea of people like betting the bank on this year's summer flick. Like, so they couldn't have been what they were going for.
No,
they just wanted to make a great movie a lot of people would go see.
Yeah,
right?
That's a great point.
Like, so by definition, making a good movie people will go see, that is a successful film that will make your director money. I don't understand the knock of being like, everything looks like this movie is designed to be successful. Like, okay.
But if it succeeds, then what's the fucking... Oh my God. On this level of intention, Jaws is a wholly successful film. In terms of cinema, it stinks. Now, I will grant you, because I think, if I remember correctly, this is actually rated PG. So I understand the knock that this was before PG-13 and they didn't want to give it an R, and there is a lot of graphic. I mean, by modern standards, it's incredibly quick. It's like, oh, a quick shot of like an arm, but then let's cut away. You know, I understand. I feel like people are, in their reviews, reacting to the fact that the MPAA should get on this and make something in between PG and R. Like, this is not Jaws's fault that it was rated PG.
I don't think Spielberg was acting in bad faith here, like trying to trick children into going to see a movie that would scare them. Like, he shot this movie and edited it, and what came out according to the rating system was a PG movie, and he was like, fine. He wasn't going to change the movie in order to appeal to make it hit a rating that says adults only.
And
right?
he was a brand new baby director. He had done Duel, but I think maybe he had done something in between, but he was not like, I'm big man on campus here, everybody. Like, I'm the director. I think he was probably like, people were pushing him around, you know, like, he made the movie that he could with the money that he had. I don't think he was like, oh no, another 6 months in the editing room to like, to get this, you know, to
how do I
manipulate
shave a couple of shots of blood out of here in order to, so that 10-year-olds can go watch it. I don't think that was ever...
He only had like 4 minutes of the shark working to be able to like even make the movie that he wanted. Okay, so here is a review from 2012. So this is somebody who's got some pretty big britches. This is from the Chicago Reader. It broke box office records in 1975 and probably posted an aesthetic landmark too, in proving that actors and characters were completely redundant in the shopping center cinema of the 70s. Steven Spielberg's mechanical thriller is guaranteed to make you scream on schedule. John Williams' score even has the audience reactions programmed into the melodies, particularly if your tolerance for weak motivation and other minor inconsistencies is high. Weak motivation. The
Yeah.
characters' motivations are weak.
I mean, honestly, like, does anybody really care that the children are getting eaten on the beaches? Like,
I mean, I guess it's life or death in that.
we've got tourists coming.
Yeah. I mean, so Roy Scheider, there's your motivation. That's pretty obvious motivation. I got to get the beaches closed. The mayor, okay, I mean, sleazeball, we got to stay open. We got to stay open. But I feel like they do a phenomenal job of selling his argument from his mindset. Like he's not a one-dimensional character.
When they're taking that ferry, they're standing on that ferry thing, if I'm remembering correctly, and he's walking Roy Scheider through it. And there's a point where I'm like, yeah, it's definitely like
we're a summer town. We need summer
grossly
dollars.
It's grossly cynical.
Yeah.
But also like realistic. Like the town doesn't work if people don't come here. Like you don't understand. Like, yeah, your job is to protect people. My job is to make sure this town functions.
Right.
So, and it's built on tourism.
Not only is that a long single shot scene where probably the character with the most questionable motivation at least explains himself for a long time in a literal like one-to-one conversation, which is so much more, I mean, again, than you're going to get in movies after this. Like that's an incredible amount of time given to explain these characters' motivations.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how long that actual scene is, but the ferry's not fast.
No.
Like he takes his time walking Roy Scheider through his motivations, and he's not a one-dimensional, and he's not even, I wouldn't even call him a villain or a bad guy or even an antagonist. He's just someone with competing goals.
Yeah.
In the same way that like Quint and Richard Dreyfuss have competing goals themselves. One wants to study the shark, wants to understand what's happening. The other has a actual frigging like blood vendetta against sharks. And all of those are like, it's a meeting of motivations that is like, it's an alliance of convenience, but like on any other day in any other circumstance, these three guys couldn't possibly stand each other and like wouldn't be in the same room with each other.
Okay, so it spawned a number of imitations, including Grizzly, Day of the Animals, and The Unforgettable Worms. Do not, I know it's 2012. Do not blame a great movie for the shitty movies that came after it.
Yeah, it's not Spielberg's responsibility.
That's not, I mean, if anything, that's a testament to how good it was that everyone's like, well, we got to get on board with this.
We got to try and do this, yeah.
Most of which failed, but the formula has lived on in the Alien series and most contemporary films with aspirations towards suspense. Yes, movies with aspirations towards suspense. That little extra dig in there. I mean, like that's in 2012, so that is clearly someone who goes like, I can't say it sucks, but like, what was the big deal? You know, I feel like we're going to, every time we read something that's modern day, there is that little tinge of like, I want to say that it's terrible, but I kind of just have to go like, all right, so like it was iconic or whatever, you know?
Yeah, like big deal. That's a bizarre take. Is this the same person that said John Williams, that gave a knock on John Williams music? I don't know if we haven't talked about it yet.
John Williams' score even has the audience reactions programmed into the melodies.
That drives me so nuts. I don't know if there's a person who scored my childhood more than John Williams.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He musically is in everything that I enjoyed. In one way or another, if not actually writing the music, having clear influence on whoever did. To say that he has the audience's reactions programmed in is to get it exactly backwards. because he doesn't know how an audience is going to react. He's like he's written music. Oh my God. Okay. Let me start over. Let me
No, no,
I can
because
do this. I
no, no,
can
no.
do this, Dave.
You're totally right. What this is this is a guy watching the movie in 2012 going like, "Oh yeah, of course we all shriek when the music swells." He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
It's such a
And it's
weird knock.
but what it is that's a man who understood human beings
Mhm.
and was able to transform emotion into music. Do you have any idea like what that requires in terms of like not only musical ability but just like pure raw talent
Yeah.
of like and like creativity and vision to be like you've because program people's emotions into the music implies that like he knew how people would react. And the answer is no. Like he didn't know, he didn't have 50 years of like the benefit of 50 years of watching a movie and knowing where people are going to scream
Mhm.
and then inserted music there. He inserted music there because he knew that would help, that augments that scene, that creates the fear. That
He seems like such a nice guy, John Williams, but I really would love to have been a fly on the wall if he ever read that. Like, score even has the audience reactions programmed into the melodies. Yeah, it's the job, asshole.
that's
That's
exactly
that's what we're all
exactly what I'm
striving for, is so that our score matches what's happening in the emotion on the screen.
and it's the music that causes the emotion. It's not the emotion
Right.
that the music is trying to replicate. I
Right.
think that's the point that I've been furiously struggling to articulate. But my God, what a disservice to
I
such an incredible talent to say like, oh wow, you were able to program emotions into a movie. It's like,
yeah.
no, you, another way of saying that is you made people feel things by,
That's a
by
good
using
point.
music.
Yeah. Yeah.
You made people feel things. To use two notes. He uses two notes next to each other,
Yeah.
and it's the most horrifying theme song with a little drum in the back. It's the most tense opening scene of any movie, for my money.
I don't
Any
know.
movie I've seen in a long time.
I don't know how
Ever.
apocryphal it is, but there's been like interviews where like Spielberg said like, you know, Williams came over and went to the piano and just went like do 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 do, and you know, Spielberg was like, the hell is that? And he's like, trust me, it's gonna work. Like, I
It's
don't know
gonna
how much of
kill.
that is you know, kind of hyped up over the decades to kind of make it a bigger story, because it sounds like, but honestly, if I'm making a movie and John Williams comes over and goes like, all right, so I'm going to take this pan and I'm going to go gung, 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 and then I've got this kazoo and I'm going to go, huh?
It's gonna crush.
You trust John Williams. You go, thank you. Here's your
Yeah.
check. You know, you do not question that guy. I'm sorry. This is the LA Times, June 20th, 1975. And this one is called Don't Go Near the Water. Like all of these reviews, for how critical they are that like writing in a movie is hokey, it amazes me how many of these reviewers need to have a stupid pun in the title of their review. Like, isn't that blow your mind that it's just kind of like the writing?
This is the best.
The writing was a little hokey. Meanwhile, Jurassic Park will take a bite out of you. You know, it's like, come on, guys.
A blast from the past.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
All right, so here we go. So while I have no doubt that Jaws will make a bloody fortune for Universal and producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown, again, it's okay, so it'll make its money.
I have no doubt it'll make its money. But I think that's like a hedge. That's got to be like a hedge of them being like, listen, I know I'm in the minority here, and they can't acknowledge like, I get that everybody else thinks this is a good movie.
Yeah.
They don't make they can't stand on their reputation as a good critic if they go, the whole world loves this except for me.
Right.
So what they say, instead of this is an objectively good movie and I disagree, what they say is, well, it'll make money.
Yeah.
But it's
it's
still a bad movie. I think that's my theory on why everybody seems so gung-ho on adding that good movies make money.
It is a coarse-grained and exploitive work. which depends on excess for its impact. Ashore, it's a
Uh,
bore.
uh, uh, it depends on excess for its impact.
Yeah. You know, Jaws, that movie all about excess.
It's this movie lives in less is more.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie invented the idea of you get one good scare and then everyone is on their guard for the rest of the movie, so it's gotta count. It pioneered how to frighten people in a movie theater by not showing what they're supposed to be afraid of.
I want to take this reviewer by the hand and lead him into a Roland Emmerich movie and just go like, really? Spielberg relied on excess?
That's the excess, yeah.
Oh, look, it's the White House exploding. Like, Ashore, it's a bore, awkwardly staged and lumpily written. So he describes the plot for a little bit, and then he goes, most of this, despite an intense performance by Scheider, is flat brush melodrama, broad and obvious. Explains more of the plot, and then he goes, if the whole project from manuscript forward has been a commercially calculated confection, the tip-off in the movie is the stubborn refusal of the key characters to come into sharp focus. What are you talking about?
What does that even mean?
What are you talking about? The greatest scene in movie history happens halfway through the climax, where the three main characters sit and bond in the most organic and natural scene ever put to film. The characters don't come into sharp focus. One of them has a fucking monologue where he explains why he's never going to put on a life jacket again. Like,
that might be the wrongest critique we've heard tonight.
You know, Jaws.
I think there's a world where you can make an argument for some things that we've heard tonight that I disagree with. But the idea that these characters are like that, they don't have well-defined and like clear motivations, and like that they unify over those things. It's the whole movie.
You're not watching
what the movie is.
You're not watching the movie if you think that. There's a moment when Hooper is thrown a rope and told to tie a certain kind of fisherman's line, fisherman's knot, if he's going to come on the boat. And he's really criticizing him for being a city boy and a rich kid. And Hooper does it and throws it to Quinn, who catches it and doesn't even look at it and throws the rope down and goes up and grabs his hands. If you're watching the scene, you're watching all of the subtext that it was never about the rope. It was never about him actually doing it. He just wanted to test him. And the movie is filled with those little moments. And if you're not like this is 1975, but did he have a cell phone? Was he playing Candy Crush?
Yeah, like, what was distracting him to miss these moments?
What was he doing? Like, because you're not watching if you don't think the characters are coming into the sharp focus. Where were you during the Indianapolis monologue? Where were you when they all share scars? Young Steven Spielberg, who was the director, shows as he has before an uncommon flair for handling big action. He and the script are much less successful in the man-to-man confrontations than the man-to-shark meetings. Ready? Ready? Intimacy is not yet his strength. Sorry, Spielberg. Intimacy is not your strength.
That's not your strength. Yeah, you don't.
The ending is pulp story hokum. Ugh. Pulp story hokum.
Hokum?
Hokum. Yeah. Because it's the 1930s and we're in a saloon.
God. It's balderdash, is what I say.
Calculated. Enough of this malarkey.
That ending's for the birds.
Calculated, I suspect, to affirm that it's all been in gory good fun. The nightmare was only a dream. Again, I think it's that kind of mindset that they had with Jurassic Park when the reviewers were like, everybody ends up okay in the end. It's like, okay, so you just wanted everyone to be mauled. Like the fact that
you wanted to watch it. Yeah.
he did an uplifting ending where the characters do escape, you were like, oh, this is pulp story hokum. All right, so two more. This is Chicago Tribune. Okay. So we know this one. June 20th, 1975.
Our old friend.
When the fear level drops off this is like in the middle of the review a little bit. When the fear level drops off, for example, you'll begin questioning the realism of how this little town fights the fish that threatens to close its beaches and thereby destroy its summer tourist economy. You'll wonder why they don't ultimately call in the Coast Guard. And you'll wonder, when it comes to killing the fish, why 3 men have to risk their necks. Why doesn't somebody just get a big mother of a gun and blow the shark out of the water?
What?
I mean, technically they do at the end.
That's literally what they do.
Now,
but
I think it was there's like a famous saying from Hitchcock who was like, someone asked me about one of my movies, why don't they just call the police? Because it's boring. So there's absolutely a little bit of like, well, the drama has to happen, dude.
Yeah, you idiot. It's a movie.
But also I think the stakes are pretty confidently established as like, this is life or death, but it's also kind of a small town that doesn't have a lot of resources. Mm-hmm. They don't have money to like get a nuke. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, they have like a town hall meeting about it, like how to deal with this shark that's ravaging the town. And like 30 people show up. That's the sum total of concerned citizens about this like monster shark that's attacking it. Like that's the best they could cobble together is like a medium-sized like crowd of people.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get a big mother of a gun? That's the review equivalent of why didn't the Eagles just take the ring to Mordor?
Right.
That's exactly what that is. Why didn't they just call in the Coast Guard?
Or in the modern day, it's
movie.
The modern movies where it's like, why didn't they just call the Avengers? Why is Captain America going it alone? You have the Hulk on speed dial.
Yeah. What a spectacular miss of the point.
Now,
like
if this movie were bad and poorly made and poorly acted and poorly executed, I can see your mind wandering a little bit into that territory. I don't agree, but I can see how you could do that. But like, again, and I know I keep repeating myself, when the movie is this good, can't you just shut up with the technical, like the small little baby thing that's like, I don't think they would do it this way. Like, okay, well, they did. And it's a beautiful movie with incredible acting. Everybody's got an arc. It scares the shit out of an entire generation and created a new genre of film. Is that enough for you? Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right.
That's
I am so excited to read this to you. This is the worst review I've ever read.
Oh my God.
20th of December, 1975, The Spectator. This is British. So once again, this is going to have kind of those like, what the hell? Like, it's going to have like little things that just don't even make sense.
Okay.
We are accustomed, of course, to seeing all sorts of animals in the pantomime season. Everything from Puss in Boots to Mother Goose. But there's usually a man inside. In this story about a shark, there is, in fact, a pretty girl inside. There is also one small boy and a large selection of assorted limbs.
Holy this is dark.
And right at the end of the film, we see Robert Shaw as a fisherman being eaten rather slowly when the rubber and plastic shark manages to get on board his boat. He is a real old quote-unquote character who insists on singing terrible sea shanties, like the one about the girl who for 15 years kept her virginity, quite a record in this vicinity. And with rhymes like that, he deserves to be eaten even sooner. I don't want to give away too much of the plot. He just gave away the end. In his first paragraph, he explains
Shaw getting eaten.
the death at the end of one of the main characters.
I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it for you,
but don't let me spoil it for you. It is, in fact, a very stormy shark. You can always tell if it's about to attack because the musical accompaniment begins to sound like an express train. There we go again.
Ah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. The whole film is very educational. At one point, a scientist cuts into a dead killer shark to see if there are any bits and pieces of small children inside. There are none. He's explaining another scene, by the way. Like after.
I don't want to
ruin it for you. There are none. So we have to make do instead with a car registration plate and a large tin box.
They're called license plates, you limey. Sorry.
I like that that's your criticism.
That's my hang up.
But also like you're recounting a scene. You're telling us what happened at the beginning, middle, and end of a scene, but not critiquing it at all. You're just saying that that's what happened.
It's just.
We are shown too that if you put a cylinder of oxygen into a shark's mouth, now explaining the actual end.
I don't want to give it away.
Just as it is. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert. I don't know if we needed to say that. Just as it is about to eat you, the shark will blow up, provided you also have the presence of mind to fire a bullet into the cylinder before the shark closes its mouth on you. When the fisherman is being eaten and the other characters...
Is he? I can't tell if he's being... So we've kind of veered away from an actual critique of the movie. And now he's just listing things he thinks he's learned from the movie. Because the first one is just like... Which it was weirdly phrased because it sounded like he was hoping that children's body parts would fall out of the shark. And he's like, disappointing that we didn't see that. But what we did get was a car's registration plate. and then he moves on to, here's another fun fact. You can blow up a shark this way. And it's like, there's no commentary on like...
No, I think what started
Does he think that's a fact he learned from this movie?
I think he started his review and then halfway through it just became the notes of what he was seeing as he was watching it. Then there was this scene. Then the mother of the boy slapped Roy Scheider. Then Robert Shaw was boiling some shark jaws.
Oh my God.
Here's the last paragraph. When the fisherman is being eaten and the other characters are drifting ashore at the end of the
fisherman, he didn't even bother. He didn't even bother.
Right.
Just when the fishing one is going and the nerd one is going away, and
there's fish guy, there's tan cop guy, and the other one,
and complaining nerd guy,
nerd guy. When the fisherman is being eaten and the other characters, if you are a professional critic
and whoever
you end up typing for any reason the words "the other characters." Quit. Just quit.
He couldn't be bothered. He just couldn't be bothered.
And then the other characters.
And whoever else is on screen.
When the other characters are drifting ashore at the end of the picture, one of them says, "Is it Wednesday?" And the other says, "No, I think it's Tuesday. I went into the film on Monday and came out thinking that whatever day it was certainly high time we had a repeat of recent science broadcasts on sharks." That's the end of the review.
We're going to have to read that sentence more than once because that took me on I went into a fugue state in the middle of that sentence. Jesus Christ.
It's an adventure, isn't it?
He starts by quoting a scene from the movie, which is, I think, a great little, well-written little kind of,
Not quoting a scene from the movie, quoting the last lines of the movie. Yeah. Remember, he doesn't want to give away too much of the plot.
Doesn't want to give it away.
So here's the whole thing again. When the fisherman, and I dare you to get through, I dare you to understand this by the end. When the fisherman is being eaten and the other characters are drifting ashore, at the end of the picture, one of them says, "Is it Wednesday?" And the other says, "No, I think it's Tuesday. I went into the film on Monday and came out thinking that whatever day it was certainly high time we had a repeat of a recent science broadcast on sharks." I think he's saying this is not scientific enough, and it's high time we all like learn
I think
more.
you're giving him entirely too much credit. I think you're giving him way too much credit. I think this guy walked into this movie and walked out going, "Hey, so sharks are a thing. We should we should have we should know more about sharks. Like we as a people should know more about sharks. Not this movie should be better educated on sharks. It's just aren't sharks interesting?"
I think
And
he went into this movie and then experienced some sort of blunt force trauma on his head.
what cracks me up is the ending where he's ending of that sentence, which holy crap, we went on a journey. But the end of that sentence where he says, "We need to have a repeat of a recent broadcast on sharks," as if like, not like we need to do more studies and learn more about sharks. We need to better understand these animals. It's just, wouldn't it be great if they did a rerun of something that I now am interested in?
Right. Right. It blows my mind. It bounces from like barely a critique to saying I don't want to give away the plot to literally just stating the things that happen in the movie.
Lines from the movie.
Yeah.
That might be the worst review we've had so far on the thing.
I screamed aloud when I read it. Those are the reviews for Jaws. I'm sorry you were so wrong in your assessment of it.
You're right. You know, when you put it all together like that, it just really stacks up. It just makes me question how I could have thought this was a good movie. I just don't get it.
I mean, now that you know that it's hokum, I just didn't remember hokum was in my vocabulary, but now that I do, I can come back.
That's a great word, actually.
Do you still like Jaws? Is there anything legitimately that, like, I mean, I feel like the closest to me is okay, I guess it is a little bit of a stretch that the characters take care of it the way that they do, but even then, that's the like I get it. It all makes sense within the context of the movie.
I buy it. I buy it the way that because it's not about that scene is less about the practicality of it. It's not about the realism. It's not about what would actually happen. To say it's narratively necessary is fine, but I feel like that's also dismissive. I think more importantly, like thematically, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
The movie is about people banding together who are not from similar backgrounds, don't have similar motivations, don't even have similar interests. Guys who would not ordinarily be comrades battling nature for the safety of other people. That's what the movie is fundamentally about. So any scenario in which that doesn't happen serves no interests whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
To say that it's more realistic if they do something else undoes the idea of the movie. So why would you prioritize realism over the entire virtue of making a movie?
I do imagine a version of this movie though where they all pool their money. Like the whole movie plays out the exact same way, but instead of them going out on the Orca, they just hire the T-800 from Terminator 2 with the Gatling gun to like Arnold Schwarzenegger just walks out to the shore and just
I'm trying to think of what movie that guy saw right before Jaws.
Yeah.
To make him be like, this is how you handle it. Just throw a big gun at the problem.
Right. Yeah. It blows my mind. I wrote a little negative review. Did you write one for?
I got
Jaws?
a little quickie for you. Yeah.
So this is my review for Jaws. I wanted to come up with a pun, obviously, at the beginning. This movie is not my chum.
Sure.
Jaws, aptly named because I was yawning through the whole thing, is the most boringest movie ever. Taking place in one seaside town, I guess Spielberg was too cheap to pay for multiple locations. The movie follows apparently a cop, though I never see him shoot anyone, arrest anyone, or hit anyone with his car. The shark is so fake it doesn't even blink once. I don't know why people didn't get out of the water as soon as they heard the music. I wanted to tie it into there. Oh, And in the middle of the climactic third act, the three main characters decide to just sit around, show their scars, and talk. Ever heard of pacing? 0 stars. That's my review of Jaws.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I've got mine here.
No.
All right. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Sharks have small black spots in their near the nose, eyes, and mouth. These spots are the ampullae of Lorenzini, special electroreceptor organs that allow the shark to sense electromagnetic fields and temperature shifts in the ocean. Maybe these things blew up when they killed the shark at the end of the movie. But I don't want to spoil anything for you. I took off 1 star because I didn't get why the grumpy one was there. 1 more star because they actually did need a bigger boat. 1 more star. You like that one?
I did.
Like
it's like he mentioned it and they just moved on. Like, why didn't they go back and get a bigger boat?
1 more star because the theme only had 2 notes. Get another song, Williams. One of the guys said it was Wednesday. One said it was Tuesday. It was actually Saturday when I watched the movie. 1 more star for that. 1 star.
Oh, I think we can close the book on Jaws there. That is phenomenal.
What a fantastic movie, and I weep for the people who don't enjoy it.
Oh, God. So please give us a like. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube. Give us a like, share, subscribe. Please review the show. Let us know that you liked it. Tell a friend. Word of mouth is a real big deal. So, literally just let someone know that you like the show and they'll come find us. And my name is Dave Columbo. I'm all over social media. So if you'd like to leave me a comment on anything on Instagram, on TikTok, give us your own terrible review for any of the movies that we've covered, and we'll read it out on the show and tell us what movies that you'd like to see us cover next. I've been Dave Columbo.
I'm Mick Andrews.
And this has been off the mark. This episode was hokum.
Balderdash.
Balderdash.